since we're just starting. We got iPad Gail, Vanessa, Kathy. Oh, good. I was wondering if Kathy, if you were going to come. Great.
You want to make me co-host?
Oh, yes, Mary. Thanks. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed about how much Sonoma is costing.
No, I mean, don't be embarrassed. I think last year was kind of a one-off. I really do, because I mean, and you had a multi-year contract with them prior, right? So they probably held everything steady for 3 years. And then, and the thing that you were saying, Martha, that makes me a little bit nervous is that you said it's all new people.
Yeah.
And
We've got,
like, you have no relationships there from people that are going to
exactly.
say, I need to take care of this person.
Yeah, exactly. However, we started last year with the people in housing. They were new last year. And so we kind of did some hand holding last year. So I'm hoping, but yeah, we'll see. But the conference and event center folks are all new. So it's a different playing field. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen. I have no idea what's back there, but we'll find something that's of interest. Okay. Let me blow this up a little bit. Yeah. Is that better?
Yes.
All right. And I can scroll it. So thank you, everybody, for all the time and effort that you spent on trying to get this as clear as possible. I'm sure it's going to continue to change as people come in with new numbers. I guess one of the key things that I want to have a confirmation from everybody on, and raise your hand if you don't feel that what you're seeing here represents what you think you put in. So if the numbers that you are seeing on here are different than whatever you thought was supposed to be in there, then we want to go ahead and get those changed. But I think Kathy has been working feverishly trying to update as changes came in from different people. Kathy, you want to say anything on it?
That's correct. I got the latest on a branch balances. Sue over at that's Curry, and that just went in today.
Okay.
It's the last one that I put in. Okay.
And obviously Sonoma has nothing, Sonoma too, because, and Sandy asked that question earlier today, how would we handle that? And I said, I think if they're, the only time you would really want to think about handling it as that you might need to worry about it is if you have an overage and you have to take money out of the unrestricted funds. And so the way that things are looking right now, I adjusted your number to 1,200 so that it wouldn't look so bad, Diane. But if you want to go back down to 1,100, that's your option.
Yeah, we're also strategizing on how to get additional funding. So
yeah. So a couple things that we need to just kind of conceptually agree on and know that these numbers are going to move as we get like a firm quote, Martha, as I get a firm quote from UCSD, as we actually get our contracts in place versus, it's going to be $75 a night per person instead of $59. That's what I'm working off of from a San Diego perspective. Those will all be frozen before we have our final review in April. And I don't think they're going to change significantly from what we see here. If they do, we'll just go back and we'll say they changed. And that's how we'll have to deal with it. At this point in time, we've rolled all of the software costs are going to be in the general admin fund for this year. As we move forward, we will allocate them out. We're not sure exactly how, whether it's going to be pro rata for the camp doc stuff, and then we'll just divide it by the number of camps for any cost or charge that we might have related to QuickBooks and adopting QuickBooks in 2024. But this year we don't have to worry about that. This year we'll keep it all in the general admin fund. We did one of the things that we're not going to do this year is absorb the COVID, any incidental COVID costs in the general admin fund. So some of you still have tests left from last year. Some of you still have masks left from last year, but you don't have to test everybody. It's going to be that on an exception basis. So I would get, maybe a couple dozen tests and some masks to have available in case you need them or somebody requests them.
Yeah, the tests may be expired actually. So
tests. Okay.
The kits, I don't know.
The tests from last year. I don't think they do. I think they do. They last for a while. Susan, you got a question?
Yeah, thank you. I just, since you brought up the administrative fund, what is the plan for that money going forward?
For what money?
The administrative?
The general admin, are you talking about?
Yes.
We will always have a general admin fund.
Right. And what is its budget, or what is it allocated for? Because we used to do it because we met in person. So we don't have that anymore. So I'm just asking going forward what the plan is for that money.
That's a good question. I think the plan is to, if we do have a session in person, obviously it would come out of that. Any other expenses that if we want to do something for the 25th and we want every camp to have something, then we would probably take that out of the general admin fund. I think at this point in time, that'd be something we'd have a discussion with SPF on for what they think are things that would come in or out of the general admin fund. Generally, I think it's going to pick up anything that doesn't get picked up directly at the camp level.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to describe it.
About that.
You have a question about that?
I hope we directors are able to have a discussion about that.
Well, I mean, give me suggestions for what you think it ought to be spent on.
Well, it's not on tonight's agenda, but since you brought it up, that's why I was asking. I don't want to hijack your agenda.
That's okay. That's okay. I think if you're, so the budget for, Kathy, now that I think about it, if we were going to have a meeting, an in-person meeting at the end of the season, that would be in the 2023 budget, right?
It would, because it's a calendar budget. So if we had it after the camps were held, in August, let's say September, sometime in that time frame, it would go in here.
Is that what you're thinking, Susan?
Well, traditionally we had it in October only because
whenever, but
I'm just saying because it's just hard to do it right after camp.
Right.
And so, I think we could spend the money better now that we're so good at Zoom. I think we could spend that money better than paying everybody's transportation costs and going between NorCal one year and SoCal one year. And I mean, I've had it here at my house many times to save money, but I'm just saying that's why I hope that directors could have some input is all I'm saying, which I don't want to do now because you have a full agenda.
I would say at this point in time, that money is going to sit there and earn 1.2% interest or whatever big monies have on them now. I don't know what those numbers are, Kathy.
Yeah, you can get up to 4% now.
Oh, wow. Until we figure out what we want to spend it on. Yeah, Diane.
So I have one change since you were copying my Sonoma 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The storage.
Yes.
And equipment, those could both be half since I'm sharing that with 2 camps.
Okay. So we'll divide that in half.
Yeah.
So we'll do 750 and 750. Okay. Okay. So, you know, of course, we're going to get questions about the overages or the underages or whatever you want, the gaps, the negatives. And I think certainly if we look up here and we look at this bottom line, the unrestricted assets, that's where you'd be covering that. That's where you would end up picking that up for the year. So yes, you have sufficient, but I guess the question, it came up earlier today, Sandy, and I think it's going to come up in the finance committee meeting tomorrow. What is a reasonable reserve
to
have? Either both on a camp level and on a gross level. So I think that, and originally, you know, we had talked about it. I don't know, normally you would do something like 6 months worth of operating expenses, but we don't operate on a yearly basis. So we have to think about, is it, you know, just these losses? We need to make sure that we have enough to break even. So that will be a discussion at the finance committee level. Anybody got any ideas on that?
Mary, can you leave it up long enough to see? Thank you.
Oh, you want the bottom line. Okay.
I just wanted to see the whole thing.
Yeah. So let me make sure I bring it up enough so you can see what numbers. That number in row 59, those are the numbers that will be the new camp fees. Yeah, Mary, your question?
Yeah, you have camp fees for virtual at $500 per camper.
Yes.
And, you know, we pay $50 a camper. Where's the big?
What do you mean $50?
Well, at Davis, previously our branch was paying $900. Now we expect that to go to $1,000. But over the virtual, we've been paying $50.
No, not for
virtual, for a virtual camper.
No, you've been paying $500.
Yeah, the branches that send campers to virtual pay $500 per camper.
Okay.
And if we only charge you $50, you got a deal.
Well, I guess I better look at that again.
You're going to get a bill, I'm pretty sure, after this meeting.
Wasn't it 400 at one point?
Yeah, 400 and then 50 the parents pay.
Yes, it was, and we raised it last year.
Right.
We were going to buy a bunch of equipment. It actually is probably going to, you know, settle somewhere lower than that, between 400 and 500. So we'll leave it. They upped it last year to 500. We're going to leave it at 500. We don't have any reserve to operate off of.
Right.
Yeah.
We got paid when you have reserves. Virtual has $400 from one branch, and that's it, because everything was sent back after last year to kind of the home camp for the branches.
Yeah.
And so virtual had some deposits directly from branches. The rest had to come from transfers from residential camps.
Pat, got a question?
Yeah, is the actual fee that's been approved, is that line 59 or line 60?
No, nothing has been approved yet. The only thing that's been approved is what we had last year. So, and that's of course in columns T, WX, you know, the next the hidden columns. So if I unhide your columns here and look at that, and you look, that's what you had last year.
Oh, that's how you do that.
Yeah, that's how you do that.
So Mary, you mentioned that there were a couple of camps, or could you highlight the camps that are going to be projecting a fee increase this year when we meet with the board?
Yeah. So Davis, yeah, let me highlight this one. You were 900 last year, right? Yeah. So Davis would be looking for a fee increase. You would be looking for a fee increase. Almost everybody would. These two will both be looking for fee increases. Whittier will be looking for a fee increase. So that's how many are looking for fee increases.
And the profit loss that is currently projected there is based on the last year's fee?
No,
the new
number.
It's so even with the fee increase,
Yes.
the profit loss says that we're still underwater by 33,000. That's including the fee increase, and that money needs to come out of your unrestricted reserves.
Correct.
And of course, you can see the biggest chunk is Sonoma 1 and 2 because of that large increase in the camp facility.
Right. I mean, you got your quote today and it went up 25% or whatever. We don't even know what it went up because we're not sure what it was back in 2019 on a, I mean, did you, well, I guess you could, it was a different number, wasn't it? No. On the line. So 2019, your actual was 65. So if I do that math, I mean, it's you're up to a third.
Yeah, it was 60. And you know, the other thing is last year they also gave us a 10% discount for early applying or whatever. And she said, oh, you don't get that this year. I'm like, well, you knew we were coming. How could it not be? I don't know. Her first response was, well, you know, inflation. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let me just do the math here. I want to see what this is. 35% increase in a year. No, not 35, in 3 years. I'll take
over that.
It's like 12 or something, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but still, that's 10% a year.
Right, yeah. Wow. And then she was asking me if I had, you know, if I could give her numbers of, you know, other oranges like mine that were, you know, just to compare. Because she said that they do compare with other things with other campuses. So but these are mostly UCs, right? Isn't UC on a different program than state universities? I don't know.
No, well, maybe a little bit, but I think that you probably would be closer to a Fresno, but from a
but the facility is way different.
Yeah, it's probably closer to a San Diego, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's more like San Diego, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, San Diego, as I told you, their number is $75 a head.
Yeah.
And per night, and it includes food.
Yeah.
Now
mine includes food. I even asked her today. I said, could we just maybe not have linens and kids could bring their sleeping bags? But she's going to check into it. She kind of doubted it because, you know, housing has a package. So.
Wow. Okay. Pat, another question?
No, sorry.
Oh, no more questions?
I'm looking at our costs. I just
checking them.
Yeah, I think we're okay on it. I think we're all right.
Yeah. And
the projected is okay.
I mean, I think that the discussion will be just as they had the discussion last year. We do have some reserve. So we're going to talk about whether we want to continue to dip into the reserves, but we have to start at least socializing, you know, even at these numbers that this is not going to go down and it's probably going to have to continue to go up because costs will keep going up. We can afford to tap those reserves for a little while, but
well, there's nothing that talks about or that mentions if we get like a company donation or something.
Right. Well, let me just give you an example.
Oh, grants. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's what we're working. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you're up there and you do that, bingo, now you're down to
right.
33.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we are getting somebody to help pay for field trips,
right. And so those kinds of things will definitely have an impact will improve things. So by April, maybe we'll be able to plug some numbers in here that will make it a little bit more favorable looking
palatable
at this point in time.
So Mary, it seems like there are a couple of questions. One, what you've asked is the fee that's been projected. Is everybody agreeable to that'll be presented to the board? And it sounds like folks are in agreement with what's documented there. We talked about unrestricted funds, and I know you're going to talk to the finance committee about what's a reasonable level. And I'm just going to pick on San Diego since you haven't had a camp in a couple of years and you have a lot of unrestricted funds there.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance we have to weigh. So it's good to have some funds in reserves in case we have a bad year for whatever reason. You know, like COVID last year meant that some campers couldn't go and it was last minute or they got sent home. And, you know, we did a little bit of massaging there, but $123,000 or Fresno, almost $100,000 in reserves seems pretty high. And I think from our donors' perspective, I would be asking the question of what are we doing to invest that money in that camp so that it's not just sitting there, not gathering very much interest.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put that out there for people to think about. If you've got a reserve, I think that is something to consider how it's being invested. Our job isn't to make a profit. Our job is to take that line of, you know, just enough, but a little bit left over.
I totally agree with that. And I think that Joan, I'm sure, has some thoughts on that. You know, what we could do to add value at San Diego, for instance. I will say, you know, between Becca and San Diego, and between Fresno and San Diego, we have not changed our numbers in a couple of years.
Right.
So
yeah.
That we have been doing, and it still ends up going into the kitty. So I guess we could do some more. If there was more time in the week, we could spend more money, I'm sure. You know, we could spend a lot more.
Better field trips, more.
You can buy our cake at the end of the.
You gotta find time. You have to find time for doing the field trips, and you know we've got very full schedules, so trying to find that extra time is hard.
Oh, and Mary, you had mentioned the 25th. This is the 25th anniversary, so that would be a reasonable thing to think about spending some of the money that we have left to be able to engage folks who had been there before. So I think those are, you know, investments we could consider.
Okay.
And I don't know about your equipment, if you need to upgrade any of the equipment that you have available there, or if you use all if San Diego provides everything. I don't know.
Yeah, they, you know, the equipment that we bring in, the only equipments we bring in are occasionally we buy a printer. You know, we bring a printer in, or we bring a little toaster oven in or something. They provide everything else. I think we may have had to rent refrigerators, but I used the numbers that we had from the prior San Diego. So whatever we had in that capacity is what I brought in. We don't usually buy equipment.
So they don't, they provide your laptops or any computer or tablets. Boy, you're lucky.
We do have.
It just means we need more weeks at San Diego. Right? The cost is so, you know, extraordinary.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate this year. They're putting us in a new campus area, so we're going to have a lot of stuff that's up to date, up to speed. So
here's something I found out last year, that they will provide a refrigerator for the nurse at no cost. I just wanted to share that with anybody in case you need to have that information.
That's good to know, Susan. Thank you. I'm writing it down. Then that makes total sense. Doesn't it, Pat?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have suites and they already have refrigerators. So that's different, you know.
Some of ours do too. I have to confirm that. We did have. Didn't they have like microwaves and stuff, Joan, when we went? They had a bunch of stuff in the new. You're on mute. You're on mute. Joan, you're on mute still.
I think there were fridges in the kitchen area, and definitely in that conference room that we, like meeting room thing they had.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that was all brand new, and it was.
Yeah.
They had fridge and stuff.
Pretty equipped. Okay.
In the past, San Diego rented a refrigerator.
Is that what we did in the past? We rented one? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you think of any other equipment we might need? I mean, we rented everything. If we had the little golf cart and stuff, we rented that. And I'm just thinking about what else.
Yeah, those were the two things we rented, were the golf cart and the refrigerator.
Refrigerator. Okay. Yeah, Susan.
Okay. I know at some locations it's more expensive to rent the computer equipment. So I would imagine that Santa Barbara is probably going to have to buy some new computer equipment or get a grant or something. But the company that used to give us $10,000 every year is not doing those grants anymore. So, just an FYI.
Okay. I know we're not getting our Qualcomm for the virtual camp or for San Diego this year, so they're not giving money out anymore. So do you think we should put some money in there for, just as an FYI, you know, we don't recommend purchasing equipment, but last year I ended up picking up a couple of Chromebooks for $80 a piece. So you could get 10 Chromebooks for almost as much as you'd pay for a laptop. And they serve the purposes that mostly we need to use them for, which is like filling out surveys and doing some other things. But we've had the discussion about the fact that it's cheaper than a printer, and a printer is not considered an asset anymore. So why would a computer be a $80 computer be considered an asset, right? But that's also something to think about. Anything else on the budget or the camper fees? Speak now or forever hold, no, not for hold your peace until after the leadership meeting or until after the finance committee.
I hope people don't choke for Sonoma, but that'll be okay.
Well, you know, that you guys
already have, yeah, and we're reducing their numbers that they're sending this year anyway, most of them. I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
I forgot to put in an equipment line on our budget.
What do you want?
We need to buy some more Chromebooks. So
500, 800, 1,000.
I think we need to double what we have, and I think they were that would be about 10. So about 1,000 would probably do it. Which then kind of puts us over in cost. But as you mentioned, we have lots.
You have plenty.
Right. So, and my idea is I do buy equipment with that. And because we do programming and this game, we need lots of stuff. So,
Yeah. And I will say this, because I have gotten all of the terrible equipment that we have around Southern California shipped to me in the last year. And all the ones that we could use, we've used, and the ones that cannot be used were donated. So we sent them brought them up to a computer place, and they, since there's nothing on them other than our application information, we don't have any secure data on it. We just gave them to them. So they're going to refurb them and do whatever they do with them. Schools, like give them to schools and stuff. But that doesn't, you don't get anything for it because they have no value. But we do there's a thing, we need to keep track of assets. And so all I'm going to suggest is that you keep a list of whatever your assets are that you have there. And then if somebody at some point in time says, we want to see all of your listing for your computers, we'll pull them in. But I don't necessarily at this point in time see that we're going to have to track that stuff here. I think it'll just be a matter of if somebody says, where are all your assets, so that we know exactly where they are. And I'm guessing that will be SPF will ask for that at some point. Anything else? Becca, are you good with 85?
So I thought I had responded to you, but maybe I didn't. That's how many I expect.
Yeah.
Now we can have more than that, but I planned for that, and then I planned for 100 last year, and I had 50. So I didn't want to plan for 100 again. But we can take more than that, but I don't know if people are going to want to send them to us.
And so let's go look at are we done with this one for now, just for the moment, because we're already getting into talking about allocations here. And so I want to jump to that if we can.